Overall is showing more.
Wally Berger is 61, and he is also going to be going to the concert tonight. And then we have Tricia Marcy, and Tricia is 12 years old. She also likes Michael Jackson, but she is not going tonight, and we'll find out why. Good morning to all of you. I'll start with you, Tricia. Why aren't you going tonight?
Well, we tried to get tickets, but first day we didn't have the newspaper. When we did get it, my parents wouldn't let me send it in to get the tickets.
Too much money?
Well, not that really. It was also that, but that you had to get 4 tickets, and really, I didn't have 4 people that wanted to go with me that I really knew.
All right, you probably know that yesterday Michael Jackson did hold a press conference. He said he was going to change the way the tickets are going to be sold. How do you feel about that?
I think that's really great that he's going to do that, because he might not make as much money off of it as he would the way he's doing it now, and it's really great that he's going to do that.
All right, Michael, I understand you got your whole family hooked on Michael Jackson. How did you go about doing that?
Well, I just went out one time. I was at the mall, and I just bought a record from one of the record stores, and then I just brought it home, and I was playing it all the time, and then just everybody started liking it.
You went to your mom first to ask if she would buy the tickets, right?
Yeah.
What'd she say?
She just said, I don't know, we'll have to try.
Ask you, and I think then you went to Dad, and Dad said yes. Lexi, were you surprised that your husband said yes?
Well, sort of, but he usually lets us do about anything we want to do if it really means a lot to us. And he said this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance, so if we wanted to do it, that's fine. But he wasn't going. I had to take Mike and his twin brothers, so.
But he is going now, right?
No, my husband's not going now. Michael's going, and I have twins that are 7, and they're going with me.
See, it's the age group that relates to Michael Jackson is so varied. Can you understand this whole Michael Jackson frenzy?
Oh, I think I can, probably from my own personal experience. Back when I was real little, when Elvis Presley was going in the service, I can remember sitting on my dad's lap and crying because he was leaving. I was just a real little girl, but I was caught up at that time when Elvis Presley, and it's the same way with the kids today.
As a mom, how do you feel about Michael Jackson as someone that your young children look up to, admire, perhaps emulate?
I'll tell you, he's a good singer, and he's got a lot of good morals, and I don't know, there's a lot of other entertainers that I wouldn't want my children to even go see, let alone, enjoy.
All right, Wally Berger.
Hello there.
You're 61 years old. One might not imagine that you would be a big Michael Jackson fan, but you're going tonight. How did that come about?
Well, I've been a Michael fan, but I'm really going because of 3 daughters. One in the East tipped me off that Kansas City had scooped and going to get the big concert, and 2 here. That was Sally in the East, and Annie Berger, sitting over here out of the range of the camera, insisted that I send in for the tickets, and her sister Mary wanted it very much too, and we were lucky enough to be selected as ticket receiver.
How old are your daughters?
Well, Annie over here is 17, and Mary is 20, and Sally is 24.
Now, did they then come to you and say, would you like to go?
Annie came and said she wanted to go in the worst way, if I understood your question right, Joan.
But when they invited you to go along?
Yes, and that probably is the crowning point of my life, that these 2 daughters would want me to go to this gala festivity.
And you decided that you'd go. What do you think of Michael Jackson?
Oh, I like him. I agree with the other young ladies here. He sets a high principle of morals, and particularly his humility is very appealing to me, and his music and his dancing and his showmanship. He's a tremendous hunk of talent.
What do you think about the cost of the tickets?
I think it's a little high, particularly for so many of the young people who want to go, and I think Michael's going to take care of that sooner or later.
Well, I have a feeling that you're going to all have fun tonight. Tricia, we're sorry that you couldn't go, but thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And in a moment, we are going to talk with 2 music industry experts about the magic...
Temperatures at the end of the work week, again, mainly 80s and 90s, but the heat stays stuck in the southwest. However, cooler and drier air is making a track into the Great Lakes, 60s and 70s. David?
Thank you, Dave. And let's hope it doesn't rain in Kansas City tonight for the first big concert by the Jacksons. It's 8 before 8 right now. It's called Michael Mania. Incredible phenomenon, of course, called Michael Jackson. Jim Henke is music editor of Rolling Stone. Adam White is editor of Billboard. Those are two of the most influential publications covering the whole music industry. Jim Henke with me here in New York. Adam White is in Washington. Morning. Nice to have you with us.
Morning. Thank you.
Adam, morning. How do you explain this phenomenon of Michael Jackson and the Jacksons?
I was afraid you were going to ask me that, David. It's pretty incredible. It really is the biggest superstar attraction probably since the Beatles. And how to explain something like that? Well, some of it is not explainable. Some of it is. I think there are about 4 or 5 factors that have brought us to this point. One, he's a very talented singer with you know, more or less 15 years of singing and making records to his credit. He's a very visual performer, always was, and that's happened now at a time when visuals, video music in particular, has just exploded as a new popular form. He made a wonderful pop record in Thriller. He's young, and I think that's a very important point that maybe hasn't been emphasized as much in the discussion surrounding this whole business, because he's a hero, a young hero, and every so often, every 10, 20 years, a new music superstar comes along, and they're generally young, and they usually say something about, they reflect their generation, even though they appeal to people of all ages. And a little bit of good timing, good fortune. He came along at a time when I think people were ready to accept and be interested in a music superstar after a few years in which maybe music wasn't as exciting as it had been.
Jim, we just heard the people from Kansas City going to the concert tonight. 2 of them talk about what a good role model Michael Jackson is. Clean-cut, moral young man, so forth and so on, compared to a lot of music stars. How important is that in your judgment, in his becoming this popular?
I think that has been an important factor. I mean, in rock and roll, traditionally, that's not the kind of role model you have. I mean, someone like the Rolling Stones, you would never hear parents talking that way about them. Right. But with Michael, you know, he's not a very threatening person, and therefore he appeals to such a broad range of people, as we saw in that previous segment.
We've heard a lot of controversy about the way they sold the tickets in blocks, and you had to mail the money well in advance, and so forth and so on. Michael apparently has now turned around and said, we're going to change the whole ticket sales. What's your reaction to all the talk and controversy about that?
Well, I think it's about time that they did something about it. You know, I think it's very clear that the tour was very disorganized, and it's unfortunate that they did it that way. They had a lot of people. Michael has his own manager. His brother Jermaine has a separate manager, and the other 4 brothers have yet another manager. And I think it's sort of like too many chefs. And I think it was just very difficult to get the thing together. But it's unfortunate that it all resulted in this.
How can they match this success? Is there a danger that in being so big like this right now, that there's no way they can follow this?
I don't think there's any way they can top it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, they may be able. I think Michael certainly will be around for some time.
Right. What do you think, Adam? Any way they can top this?
It's hard to see how they could, David. You know, one thing, thank goodness, with the changes in the ticketing policy and some of the modifications they've made to this whole business is, I think tonight at least it'll allow people to concentrate and focus on the show and the music. And that really will be the best thing about it, because when it comes down to it, it's the music that matters and the kind of show they put on. I hear it's going to be more than 2 hours long, and it should be spectacular. And this whole change in the policy announced yesterday at least maybe allows people to concentrate on that and get a really good show together, get down to the music, which is, after all, what it's all about, the entertainment.
Adam, thank you for joining us from Washington this morning. Good to have you with us.
Dave.
Jim Henke, nice to have you with us this morning from Rolling Stone. Thanks. And we'll be back after these words from Time Magazine. 4 minutes up, almost 3 up.
In our next hour, Billy Joel. Monday, Ted Koppel and Barbara Walters. Also next week, Walter